Perfect. So let me share my screen and let's get started with today's session, day 3 Q&A first of all. Perfect. Can you see my screen now? All right. Okay, I can see very less doubts for day 3. Only 3 members have reported the doubts for day 3. Feel free to, if you have any more doubts, feel free to quickly upload or ask in the public chat. Okay. So let me get started with day 3. This is the doubt from Shubham. Okay. Okay, the doubt is regarding day 1. Start. Does the owner know if you use SQL map or SQL injection to view what's in the database? Yes. Okay, so the answer is yes, because whatever query you are triggering, okay, you are executing, it gets logged into the server. So everything that you do on the web application gets logged on the server. Okay, so with the help of logs, owner can come to know what exactly you are trying to do. Okay, so that's the answer for your first question. Second, how do we see what are the contents in the database after we get username and the password of the database? So I have gone through, see, in the example, I have only fetched the username and password, but with the same technique, you can pull out the entire database. Okay, so with the help of manual technique, you will have to figure out manually, like for each and every table in each and every column, you have to pull out the database manually. Okay, but with the help of SQL injection, you can dump all the database directly with the help of command -dump. So I've showed that thing as well. I've showed that on, I guess, yeah, I have showed in this SQL map. Okay, please go ahead and check it out. The next thing is, why does the attacking the doors does not work in all login pages? Because it's not vulnerable. Simple. Okay, if the login page is vulnerable, okay, if the query is hard coded, if the query is formulated like this, let me quickly show you. Let me again explain. I explained the same thing, but if you missed this, let me just explain. So let's say this is a login form. This is a login form. Imagine this is a login form and this is a login button. On clicking this button, we send a request to the database like this. Select start from users, where username is equals to Smith and password is equals to Smith. Okay, we send similar query to the database when we try to log in. Now understand, this is a vulnerable query. This is a vulnerable query. Why? Because whatever a user is providing an input over here in username and the password, this is directly getting consumed in the query. This is directly getting consumed in the query. Now, according to the thumb rule of security, never trust user input. Okay, and this is why whatever the user is providing here as an input, you should never directly consume it in your query. So if developer builds such query in backend, then this query is vulnerable, and on such login page, you can bypass the authentication page. So if they are using differently, okay, if they are storing it in variable and then they are passing the address of that variable, then it will not be vulnerable. So the answer is, if it is vulnerable, it will work. If it is not vulnerable, it will not work. Why? Okay, can viewing of a database of a website invite a police complaint? It depends. See, if you are working on a legitimate program, okay, then it does not like, they will not file a lawsuit against you. Understand? And if you are doing without the permission, and if you are dumping the database, if they get to know that someone has dumped the database, if they trace down your IP address, they might file a lawsuit against you and you will be in trouble. Next is, there are some websites where we cannot simply copy the cookies and log in, like netflix.com. What's the case here? We cannot simply copy the cookies and log in like Netflix. Okay, so in that case, the web application is maybe checking for this browser fingerprinting. Okay, we call it as a browser fingerprinting. If the browser fingerprinting is implemented on such web application, then developer is checking for different things like what IP address, MAC address, then what browser you are using. For example, if you have logged in with the help of Mozilla Firefox, okay, for on a particular version, then it will be stored in the database, and only one session will be allowed for that particular active login. Other session will not be allowed. Okay, so if the developer has implemented browser fingerprinting, then it will not work. I hope this answers your question. Okay, Safi, all right, you have few doubts regarding A7. Excuse me. All right, A7 missing functionality level access control. Okay, what is the standard thing to look for from page source? So from page source, I mean, I have given you a way to find out missing function level access control with like by evaluating the pricing structure of the web-based applications. So you can understand what functionalities are available to you, to a normal user, then to a basic user, then to a pro user. Okay, so if being a starter user you are able to fetch the details or access the thing of a pro user, then that's basically missing function level access control. You just have to check it properly. But looking something in the page source, I mean, you can see, I mean, if you are a starter user, okay, if you are a starter user and some functionalities are logged, okay, then in that case you can just go to page source and see how it is logged. Is it logged with the help of only the user interface, like with the help of CSS tricks? So you can just go and check whether there are some functions called as disable is equal to disabled or something. If it is there, you can try to remove that disabled is equal to disabled and see if it's working. And few of the other things I have shown in the A7 video as well. So go ahead and check that out. Is this the same as what people call source code? No, this is different. Okay, source code review is a bit different. This is not a complete source code review, but it's a part of source code review, you can say. If you go to source code and if you review it, okay, you can consider this as a source code review. If you figure out with the help of Bob suit or something, it's a normal thing. Okay, but this is not a complete source code review. Is this the same as business logic vulnerability? No, this does not falls under business logic vulnerability. For example, business logic vulnerabilities are like if the application allows you to send 300 emails per day, okay, and with the help of, I mean, if it's not properly implemented and if you are able to send maybe unlimited emails per day, okay, so that's kind of a business logic vulnerability. Next is A8 CSRF. If we are able to brute force unsubscribe program, is it still considered as vulnerability? No, unsubscribe program will not be considered as a vulnerability, because I can subscribe on your behalf, I can also unsubscribe on your behalf. Alright, because this is kind of a newsletter. See, newsletter, then contact us, all these are anonymous forms, and doing CSRF on such things is not valid. Okay, so if you are able to contact any company on behalf of me, it does not make sense that you will send me a request and I'll click on your request and then all the details will be sent to the server. It does not make any sense. You can simply fill out the form on behalf of me and send it to server. Okay, send it to the web application. So anonymous forms, CSRF on anonymous forms is not a vulnerability. Understand. And one more thing which I would like to make very clear: on a shopping cart, on any e-commerce store, okay, add to cart CSRF is not a valid CSRF. Understand, add to cart CSRF is not a valid CSRF. Add to cart or remove cart, okay, nothing is a valid CSRF, because again these are anonymous form. I can add anything, I can remove anything without login. Okay, on e-commerce websites without login we can add and remove anything. So CSRF on any anonymous form is not a vulnerability. If the website is using CSRF token, does it mean we should straight ignore? No, it does not mean that. You should try out different bypasses. Okay, there are a couple of bypasses that you can try. Bypass number 1, which is you just check, okay, you take the request in the repeater and send the normal request, see the response. If it is 200, okay, then now you change the token, okay, whatever the valid token is. Now you change the token, let's say it ends with D, character D, okay, you make it Z or something, and see, are you still getting the same response? If you are getting the same response, it means that the token is not getting validated. The token is getting passed along with the request, but on the server side it is not getting validated. I have seen such cases a lot of times where developer generates the token but does not validate the token on the server side. So this is bypass number 1 that you need to check. Bypass number 2 is you need to check the token length. I mean, you can test based on token length. If the token length is, let's say, 32 character, okay, now you change the token, you change the token value, okay, keep any 32 character, okay, and see if you are still getting the same response. So many times what developer do is, developer only checks for the token length. Am I getting any 32-bit value in the response? Okay, so based on that they allow you to make request, or they disallow you to make the request. So if the validation is based on token length, it is still bypassable. Then bypass number 3, check the CSRF token based on the IP address. Now I found out a problem on Ola.com. I'm sure you guys are aware about Ola cabs. So there was a vulnerability of CSRF on Ola. So what they were doing is, they were generating one CSRF token per one IP address, one public IP address. So of course, like as we are into the corporate premises at our company, a lot of people are using Ola.com from their mobile phones, from their systems, and the IP address for all of them will be same, because the entire organization will use the one internet connection, and then with the help of networking we have the private IP addresses assigned to our devices, but the public IP address will always remain same. So Ola was generating one CSRF token based on one IP address. So there was a possibility of intranet level CSRF attack with the help of that thing. So I reported them. All right. So that's bypass number 3, and yeah, you can check going ahead. Yeah, these are the 3 bypasses which I could think upon for now. All right, this would help you. What other things, keywords to look out for? Okay, CSRF token, authentication token, then only token, then only CSRF, maybe only T or auth, something like that. Okay, that should help you. All right, next question. So do you have any next question? Yes, you have. Known vulnerability. Okay, using components with known vulnerability. From Webalizer, when a website is using more than one tech, that is JavaScript libraries, how can we know which one to target? You can go to page source and you can look at it, which exact library is being used. You can check out different JS files, and you may target anyone. Okay, if you are seeing 2 JavaScript libraries, now see what version of JavaScript libraries they are using. If the version is disclosed by Webalizer, just find out the vulnerability, existing vulnerability in those versions, and try to exploit it. That's it. You can target anyone, or maybe you can target both of them if required. When doing bug bounty, can we attack other port also? Will this considered as out of scope? Other port. So on server, yeah, you can try to access different ports and the services associated with those ports, and if you are able to access anything, it will be considered. Okay, but you just need to check the scope of the program. You just need to check the scope of the program. A10. Okay, how long should we spend on one website when doing bug bounty? When should we move on the next target? Will you share your previous finding, either PDF or video POC? Okay, when we start our bug bounty journey, will you still be able to guide us? Maybe can share bounty later. All right, so nice question. This is interesting. How long should we spend on one website when doing bug bounty? So initially, you do not have to give up. It may take some time, maybe a week's time, okay, maybe 2 weeks time, but until and unless you try out all of your efforts, you get exhausted, only then you should leave the target. Okay, and I have few points to be given to you for bug bounty tips, okay, in today's session. So I'll be covering that. Will you share your previous finding? I'm going to share my PDF report and the template, okay, with you guys as a bonus. Video POC. So I have shared some video POCs in these. You can say the video which you have already watched. These are on my findings, okay. All these are my findings. I have not used any public finding. Okay, when we start our bug bounty journey. Okay, of course. So I have very good news for all of you. If you want to keep this relation for ongoing, all right, I'm sure we will discuss this. No worries. Okay, do you have any next thing? No. Perfect. Next doubt is from, who is it? Arvind. All right. Can this vulnerability be on server side, for example, with the access control code not being properly implemented by the backend developers? Yeah, it could be. Okay, it could be. Next is, in the example shown, you create the same form as that of the site. Does that mean it's actually kind of phishing, wherein you send the victim to a fake link? No, in case of a phishing, what we do is we create the same page, okay, we create the same looking page, but the action goes to different server, okay. The action, that is the form submission goes to a different server, different as in the hacker server. So your credentials, entered credentials, will be phished by the hacker. So that's different thing. Over here in CSRF, what we are doing is we are sending a pre-filled, yeah, we are sending a pre-filled form wherein I already have my email address in the form, I already have my username and password in my form, okay, and I am sending it to you. So when you are a logged in user on that particular web application, and when you clicks on that particular my particular link, okay, so that form will be submitted in your account and your details will be replaced with my details, and that is how I can take over your account. So that's CSRF. It's quite different than phishing. Does the origin check also ensure checking of IP address of the victim as well as attacker? No, origin is a header, okay. So origin checks for the domain name. What are the CSRF tokens? What does it look like? Where it is generated? Okay, what does it look like? It looks like a random number. It looks like a random number. Let me show you. CSRF token. Can you see this user token? Okay, this is a random number. So it looks like this. It can be also in the header, which is called as XCSRF token. So I think I have discussed this, but yeah, this is how it looks. How do you check for CSRF attack? Like in SQL injection, we started by using order by and stuff. I'm not sure whether you have gone through the video, but I have mentioned step-by-step thing. Like you should see whether the form contains any authentication token or CSRF token or not. Okay, the form should be unique, but if it's not unique, if it does not contain any uniqueness into it, okay, uniqueness as in some kind of random token or some kind of unique token which identifies you, okay, which helps you, which cannot forge the request. So I've mentioned it very clearly in the video, but if it's not covered properly, I'll check. Basically, you have to check whether any request, any particular form submission that you are doing, does it contain any CSRF token or not in that request. So when you intercept that request in burp suite, you will get to know in that particular request are any random tokens or any unique tokens are going there or not. If they are going, you go ahead and check whether it will, I mean, if you remove it, okay, will there be a change in the response? So if there is a change in the response, you cannot do CSRF on that. But if there is no change in the response after removal of the hidden tokens or the random tokens, then it is still vulnerable to CSRF attack. So I hope, yeah, this is it. Next, do you have anything? In public redirect, is the redirected website actually hidden from the end user, or the victim, and is it a client-side attack? So yeah, we send the link to victim. Okay, so it's a client-side attack, but the function which you are exploiting, okay, is written in the server-side code, and you are providing your own payload which gets triggered from the server itself. So it does not execute, like when we say client-side, it executes on what I can say is browser, but the redirect does not execute on the browser. The redirect execute on what you can say on server. Yeah. So is the in public redirect is the redirected website actually done? So you can encode it. You can do base64 encoding. You can hide it if you want with the help of some encoding mechanism. Base64 is mostly used. Okay. Alright, that's it, and let me check. Okay, who's this? Avinash. Let me see. Avinash, Saloni, and others. Okay. Can you explain how SSRF works? I'm sorry, Avinash, that's not in the scope of this workshop. Anything else? Okay, Saloni. When we do bug bounty, is it required to use httrack and mirror the website to look into the website structure? Does httrack is similar to burp spidering? No, burp spidering is different. httrack is different. Burp spidering does not mirror the site. Okay, but the structure will be same in this httrack and burp spidering. So what will httrack will give you better results, okay, in terms of what, because it will download all the files for you. It will download all the files for you, and you can review them step by step, like a normal localhost website. You can go to folder and you can search for different files. So you will have the entire client-side code in your system, downloaded in your system, which gives you more easiness to check the website. Okay, maybe JavaScript, if you want to evaluate each and every JavaScript, it will be very helpful. httrack will be very helpful. Burp spidering is basically used because with the help of burp spidering we can do passive scan in burp suite. Okay, automatically the passive scan module will be enabled and it will find out low hanging fruits and other things. So of course burp spidering, you have to do burp spidering, but it's quite different, and the usage of burp spidering is quite different. How can httrack can be used for exploitation? No, it is not used for exploitation. It is just used for kind of information gathering, and then based on the information, if you are finding out anything sensitive, you can report it to the company. So see, when you do httrack, when you can find out you can say sensitive files which are not properly protected. Okay, like let's say on a university website, if the question paper is available on the university website but the URL is not with you guys, okay, you can still download it if the file is not properly authenticated, or the file is not properly you can say if the file permission is not available properly. So httrack will be helpful in that case. Okay, next is from Adarsh. Adarsh, do you have any doubt? Let me check. Okay, can you share more about blind XSS and SQL injection? Blind XSS and SQL injection, like blind XSS is basically when what I can say is, yeah, when you inject a payload and the execution of that particular cross-site scripting is not known to you, because it may happen from the server end and it may happen from any of the other pages. So many a times what happens, you inject the payload at one place and it executes from somewhere else. So on a bigger application, blind XSS are usually found, and blind SQL injection. So it's like based on different responses. Okay, based on different responses, you can identify this SQL injection. So one is Boolean based blind. So based on different, true condition and false condition, you can find out this blind SQLI. And one is time based blind. So based on the sleep payload, like what delay, whether the sleep payload is working or not, and if it's working, then it's kind of a blind SQL injection. wherein you are not exactly getting the output in a written format, but you are assuming that with the help of sleep payload, if the sleep payload succeeds, then this character is there. If the sleep payload does not succeed, then this particular character is not there in the table name or the database name. So that's what blind XSS and SQL injection is. Next is, I cover blind XSS in my mastery course, okay? So yeah, it's okay. Suppose I find a known vulnerability from CV details website, and if the public exploit is not available, how can I exploit that? You cannot, okay? If the public exploit is not available, you cannot do it. You may have to create your own exploit, or you have to hunt for the private exploit which may be available on darknet or some people in the industry, okay? So yeah, you cannot. What are the possible endpoints for open redirects? I have shared this in the PDF, I mean the session video, so please check. Okay, next doubt is from Saloni. I mean, this was from Saloni. Okay. Can we report login page CSRF in bug bounty? No. Login page CSRF is not accepted, and sometimes, okay, if it leads to some session fixation or something, then it may be accepted. Are credentials provided in bug bounty, or is it a black box testing? No. They do allow you credentials. Many web application, what they do is they will allow you the credentials, okay? So on different platforms like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, other platforms like ESVHack, what they do is they create your dummy email address, like whatever the username you have on their particular portal. For example, my name is Smith Shah, so they will create my dummy email address called as smithshah@hackerone.com. Okay, so I'll have to sign up with that particular account, and anything with @hackerone.com is allowed for the public sign up. Apart from that, it will not be allowed. So they have set up these things for your testing purpose with client. So yeah, you can do it. Now is all right. That's it. Okay, how to exploit MongoDB? So you can use SQL map for that. Others, SQL map can be used for exploiting MongoDB SQL injections. Perfect. So that's it with Q&A session. I hope I answered all of your questions. If anything is remaining, feel free to ask me in the public chat. Okay, next 5 minutes. Okay, I have a lot of questions. Let me scroll up and let's see. When SQL injection got executed, which row of database table we got in return? Suppose we take example for username and password table. Which row of database table we got in return? I mean, you get the base column, and with the help of that base column you find out different tables and columns. Okay, so it depends. See, row as in whatever the username you are asking for, it depends on that. If you are asking for see, it is based on your condition. You cannot say that I want this row. It is based on your condition. If the condition matches, then it will be sent to you. Is host header injection vulnerability and unvalid forward same? No, they are completely different, guys. They are completely different. Can you explain XSS cheat sheet, how it works? So now if you don't know JavaScript, okay, what you have to do is you have to open this OWASP XSS filter evasion cheat sheet. Okay, and you can simply take any payload, try that payload on web application. If it's not working, okay, leave it, try another payload. Okay, again with the help of that payload, inject it on the web application, see if it's working. If it's not working, leave it. So likewise, with the help of trial and error method, you will come to know gradually that on what type of functionality, what type of feature, what type of payload are working. So this is for a complete beginner if you do not understand JavaScript. If you understand JavaScript, you can read the payload based on your situation, and then according to the situation you can try different payloads available on OWASP XSS filter evasion cheat sheet. So Janish, it's simple. You just go to the cheat sheet and try out different payloads and see what is working for you. Imtiaz, how to exploit any vulnerable server in a web application. So there are a couple of things in order to do this server exploitation. So of course you can find out different ports, which ports are open, which ports are closed, and on what ports what different services are running, and with the help of those service enumeration you can try if the service version is outdated or exploit available on a public domain, and if there are any authentication available on that particular services or not. So many times on critical service like SSH, FTP, the service authentication is not available, so you can do anonymous login, and it's a vulnerability. There are a couple of ways, okay? So you have to go step by step. Which bug bounty programs should I start with? Can you give vulnerability reports for government websites? How to contact them? Yeah, I'll give you this in the next time, okay? I mean, next slide will be on this, don't worry. Second is like if an web application using jQuery this, how can I exploit the vulnerabilities of it? At least some brief and resource I could learn. Simple. You can just Google out jQuery 1.10.1 security vulnerabilities, okay, and find out different articles, resources on this, and you'll have, if the exploit is available, you will have it. Go to exploit-db and check on that if the exploit is available. When I go for a search for a component known, okay, and I found CV numbers, I could not be able to find any demo or exploit of that CV number. Please suggest. Yeah, so if there are no vulnerabilities available, I mean, if the CV is available, but if the exploit is not available, then possibly the exploit is not publicly disclosed. Okay, if you are able to find out CV, but if you are not able to find out the exploit, possibly the exploit is not disclosed, or the exploit is not kind of a script, it's a payload. So you have to just go and check that in that case what did a developer or what did a researcher do. So understand, for one CV there will be plenty of resources. Go to each of them, go to identify who was the real researcher, search based on his name, you will get the results. How to use SQL map more effectively? With the help of tor switch, okay, so you can I mean, if the web application is restricting a certain number of requests, okay, if they have rate limiting or something set on the server, then you can use tor, which is a switch, and proxy type is equals to sox5, so you can use such switches. For that you need Tor browser in your system. Is it fine to use single token or token per session if token is not stored as a cookie? So it's fine, but if you change the token on every request, that would be better. Okay, changing the token CSRF token on every request will be better. CSRF token is just like a JWT token. No, JWT is a header, and basically it's an authentication token passed as a header. CSRF token, the purpose of CSRF token is different. It is not for authentication, it is for validating the request. What is the role of a CA certificate in Burp Suite? So when you download CA certificate and import it in your Burp Suite, what happens is you will be able to intercept almost all the websites, because you have the valid security certificate installed in your browser, which allows you to intercept all these websites. If you, I mean, it depends on the web application. If you can intercept the normal website without CA certificate, but if you want to intercept the websites like Google, HackerOne, and other websites, okay, you just need to install CA certificate, because it kills the SSL pinning basically. Can we practice these vulnerabilities on .pk website without permission? Yeah, so you can practice all of these vulnerabilities on Pakistani websites without permission. because India and Pakistan does not have any agreement on IT acts. Okay, so it's completely okay if you are hacking into Pakistani website, and also they are also hacking into Indian websites. So it's like, it's okay, you can hack into Pakistani websites without having any permission, but you will not get any good websites. Okay, if you are getting it, it's fine. Can we do Boolean injection for every database with PHP at backend? Boolean injection for every database with PHP. So first of all, this is not a database vulnerability. I have made it very clear. This is not a database vulnerability. SQL injection is not a database vulnerability. SQL injection is a vulnerability due to poor coding, due to insecure coding, okay, which allows you to talk to database. So it depends. It depends on the you can say the interpretation of the query which you are triggering and which reaches to the database. Not every time you can do Boolean injection. Okay, when redirecting happened, whose IP will be logged? The original website or ours? So it doesn't matter when you are trying unvalidated redirects and forwards, okay, from one website to another website. Of course, your IP address will be there in the log, but it doesn't matter because you are redirecting successfully. That's a vulnerability. So the IP address does not matter here. But still, if you are concerned, your IP will be logged in the logs. Okay. Can you please tell how to start with HackerOne Crowd? Yes, Rajat, we have a session on it. Okay, a detailed session on it. Please wait. How could I create the two account by using one HackerOne account for bug bounty program for test purpose? So they have this called as alias. Okay, they have an alias name. So after your what you can say is username, if you put .1, .2, okay, they do give you those type of alias names. So with the help of that, you can create multiple accounts. How do hackers hack websites like Twitter, even to have strong cybersecurity persons in their company? Now, I have heard that Twitter, okay, regarding the Twitter hack, it was someone insider, okay, who was having the portal access, admin panel access of Twitter, and he leaked out the details, because without having an insider, conducting such big scale cyber attacks is not possible. Okay, so of course they might have some problem with the SOC, that's Security Operations Center, and they should have found out early that the Twitter admin portal is being accessed by the different IP address. Okay, it should not be allowed with different IP address. They should only allow the users who connects using a VPN. But still, we are not sure how the entire modus operandi was, and still we cannot comment on it. But yeah, it is in the news that it is the work of an insider who works at Twitter. Will there be another workshop with more latest technology or more powerful workaround for big websites? Yes, I'm going to share that with you. Okay. Amarjit Panhalkar, if the bugs gets reported as duplicate, do you gain points? Yes. Recognition at least for yes. If the bugs gets reported duplicate, you gain points. Yes, Amarjit. How to know SSL certificate is self-signed? You can check the domain authority of that particular SSL certificate. You can check the CNAME. Okay. Like if I got if I got login with SQL injection payload, then which database user will get logged in on the backend side? The first user, the very first user available in the database. Guys, if you had so many questions, you could have filled up the form. I'm not sure I'll be able to clear all the doubts today because we have a lot of things to cover. Any extra tip of how not to get caught while trying to find out these vulnerabilities? What do we keep in mind and be careful about? Use VPN. Use VPN, and you simply do not do any type of testing without using VPN or proxy. How to start bug bounty in HackerOne? Yes, we are going to cover that. the burp suite gives issues through scans. How to address that particular issue? Yeah, so when you are finding out issues in burp scanner, okay, or the or the issues are given to you when burp passively scans for it, you have to understand whether the vulnerability is legitimate or not and try to manually reproduce it, and if it is impactful you can report it to your bug bounty program or the client. Is it easy to extract information from insecure sites? How to address effectively? I mean, this is a very wide question. If the website is insecure, okay, of course we can extract a lot of information, but it depends on the vulnerability. Address effectively is in you have to apply the mitigation or remediation, okay. You have to apply a proper fix to effectively address it. In few requests I found 4 cookies are set. Which cookie to be considered for testing? Only the session cookie. Understand, the session cookie or the authentication cookie. So something with written like PHP session ID or JSP session ID or ASP session ID, something related to session or you can say authentication, okay. Can we do explanation of the company under country web application? Can the other owner can sue against us? It depends, okay. It depends. If you are finding out critical vulnerability and if you are accessing their data, they might file a lawsuit against you. I mean, if it is a very giant web application and they have good connection with Interpol and everything, they can of course do investigation. Okay. Sir, I found a bug in one website based on vulnerability, this IDUR, but I don't think that site is legit and gives bug bounty or any sense. The website is based on some free stuff, but still they have subscription for upgrade versions. So can I still report to them? Yes, you can always try, but if they don't have the bug bounty program, you should be careful. You should be careful that if you report the problem and if something goes wrong, if they sue you or if they threatens you, what will you do in that case? So wait for this. Okay, I'm going to answer this in a next slide. You can still do it, but not directly. There is a way workaround. Okay, if JWT token is used but not CSRF, would it be considered as vulnerable to CSRF attack? See, if JWT token is being used, then in that case you can understand that the web application is using API in backend, and when the APIs are used in backend, CSRF attacks are not likely to work, because every request works only if the API token is being passed in the header. Okay, and your hacker, okay, the hacker which will send you the link for CSRF, he will not have the API token of your particular account, and that is why CSRF is not likely to work when the APIs are involved. Is it easy to pass a firewall, and how? Bypass a firewall, how? It depends on which type of vulnerability you are talking. Maybe if it is SSRF, then if internal SSRF is working, you can bypass the firewall. In the case of SQL injection, you can try out with some comments. In case of other things, you just need to play with some, you can say, regular expressions or the special characters to bypass, like null characters, null bytes. Okay, it depends on what type of vulnerability it is. How to use authorized plugin in burp? So that's authorized, OTZ basically. So yeah, you can go ahead and search in Google. There are a couple of demos available for that. I cannot show you right now because we have not that much of time. Can you please record the next session also? The audio when streaming sometime get broken. I'm afraid gonna miss out a lot info later. No, that's not possible, Safi, because the next thing which we are going to discuss will not be recorded. Okay, that's it with today's session. I mean, we are not yet completed, but we have just completed the Q&A session for day 3. I hope you have enjoyed Q&A session for day 3, and let's take a 2-minute break. Okay, not more than that, only 2-minute break, and then we will get started with today's session. Perfect. Let me mute myself for 2 minutes.